Two of Nigeria's biggest companies with South African roots are suddenly under pressure, and this time it's not because of business. The National Association of Nigerian Students, better known as NANS, says it is prepared to shut down the operations of MTN and MultiChoice across Nigeria over the reported killing of 2 Nigerians in South Africa. But what happened next is why this story is attracting attention across both countries. The latest threat comes as anger continues to grow over reports of fresh xenophobic attacks targeting foreign nationals in South Africa. NANS says enough is enough, arguing that Nigerians living and working in South Africa have repeatedly become victims of violence without meaningful action to stop it. If carried out, any nationwide protest against MTN and MultiChoice could affect millions of Nigerians who rely on these companies every day. But for now, no shutdown has taken place, and the student body says it is still giving room for dialogue before taking further action. Here's everything we know. The National Association of Nigerian Students, Southwest Zone D, announced that it is preparing what it describes as peaceful demonstrations against South African-owned businesses operating in Nigeria. The organization specifically mentioned telecommunications giant MTN Nigeria and pay television provider MultiChoice Nigeria. According to the student body, the planned action is a response to reports that 2 Nigerians were recently killed during xenophobic attacks in South Africa. NANS described the reported killings as unacceptable and accused South African authorities of failing to adequately protect Nigerians living in the country. The organization says Nigerians have endured repeated attacks over the years, with many victims allegedly targeted simply because they are foreigners. Student leaders argue that every new incident increases frustration among Nigerians who believe justice has not fully been served. The announcement quickly gained attention because MTN and MultiChoice are among the most recognizable South African companies operating in Nigeria. MTN is one of the country's largest mobile telecommunications providers, serving tens of millions of subscribers. Its network supports voice calls, internet services, mobile banking, and many businesses that depend on digital communication every day. MultiChoice, through its DStv and GOtv platforms, is also one of Nigeria's biggest entertainment providers, delivering television content to millions of homes across the country. Because of their size and visibility, both companies often become symbolic targets whenever diplomatic tensions rise between Nigeria and South Africa. However, it is important to understand exactly what NANS has announced. The student body has threatened peaceful protests and the possible shutdown of business activities involving these companies. At the time of this report, there is no confirmation that any protest has begun or that any MTN or MultiChoice office has been shut down. Instead, NANS says it is issuing a warning while demanding stronger action over the reported killings of Nigerians in South Africa. The organization is calling on the South African government to demonstrate greater commitment to protecting foreign nationals, especially Nigerians who live, study, and work there. NANS also wants Nigerian authorities to take a stronger diplomatic position on behalf of citizens living abroad. According to student leaders, repeated condemnations are no longer enough. They believe stronger responses are needed whenever Nigerians become victims of violence outside the country. This latest development also revives memories of previous periods of tension between Nigeria and South Africa. Over the past several years, reports of xenophobic attacks have repeatedly strained relations between the 2 African nations. Several outbreaks of violence have led to the deaths of foreign nationals, including Nigerians, while businesses linked to South Africa have occasionally faced protests inside Nigeria. In previous years, demonstrations outside MTN offices attracted widespread media attention after earlier waves of xenophobic violence. Some protesters argued that South African businesses were benefiting from Nigerian consumers, while Nigerians themselves were allegedly facing hostility in South Africa. Those protests became symbolic expressions of public anger rather than accusations that the companies themselves were directly responsible for the attacks. This distinction is important because neither MTN nor MultiChoice is accused of carrying out the violence reported in South Africa. Instead, the companies become highly visible symbols because of their South African origins and their large business presence in Nigeria. That reality often places multinational businesses at the center of political and diplomatic disputes that extend far beyond commercial operations. The latest statement from NANS reflects that same pattern. The organization insists its planned actions are aimed at sending a message that Nigerians expect stronger protection for their fellow citizens wherever they live. At the same time, the student body says it remains open to dialogue. That means negotiations or discussions could still take place before any planned demonstrations move forward. For many Nigerians, the story raises larger questions about the relationship between Africa's two biggest economies. Nigeria and South Africa have long maintained strong commercial ties despite recurring diplomatic disagreements. South African companies have invested billions of dollars across different sectors of Nigeria's economy, including telecommunications, entertainment, retail, banking, and manufacturing. Likewise, many Nigerians have built businesses, careers, and educational opportunities in South Africa over the years. This deep economic relationship makes every diplomatic dispute especially significant. Whenever tensions increase, there are concerns about the possible impact on investors, workers, and ordinary citizens in both countries. For many Nigerians, MTN is not simply another company. It provides internet access for students attending online classes. It supports small businesses that depend on mobile data for daily sales. Families use its services to stay connected across different states and even across continents. Likewise, MultiChoice provides entertainment to millions of households and supports thousands of jobs throughout its distribution network. Any disruption involving these companies would therefore extend beyond corporate offices. Customers, employees, vendors, agents, and small businesses could all feel the effects if operations were interrupted. That explains why the announcement has generated so much discussion online. Some Nigerians support stronger action, arguing that repeated attacks on Nigerians abroad require stronger responses from both governments. Others believe businesses should not become targets for political disputes, especially when they employ thousands of Nigerians and contribute significantly to the local economy. The debate reflects a broader challenge facing many African countries. As businesses expand across borders, commercial relationships become deeply connected to politics, diplomacy, and public opinion. When violence or diplomatic disagreements occur, multinational companies often find themselves caught in the middle. For Nigerians living in South Africa, the issue goes far beyond politics. Many simply want reassurance that they can live, work, study, and build families without fear of becoming victims of violence because of their nationality. Back home, many families worry about relatives living overseas and hope that every reported attack receives a thorough investigation and appropriate response. For the Nigerian government, balancing diplomacy with protecting its citizens abroad remains a delicate task. For South African authorities, every report of xenophobic violence attracts international attention and raises questions about public safety and law enforcement. As this latest story continues to develop, the focus now shifts to whether dialogue can reduce tensions or whether the threatened protests against MTN and MultiChoice will eventually move forward. For now, all eyes are on what happens next. The biggest question is whether these planned protests will actually take place or whether discussions between stakeholders can ease tensions before they reach that stage. At the time of this report, there is no confirmation that MTN or MultiChoice has been shut down anywhere in Nigeria. The announcement from NANS is a threat of peaceful action, not confirmation that the protests have already happened. Attention is also turning to the Nigerian government and the South African government. Many Nigerians will be watching closely to see whether there will be an official response to the reported killings and whether new measures will be introduced to better protect Nigerians living in South Africa. Another key issue is how MTN and MultiChoice respond. Although neither company has been accused of involvement in the reported attacks, both may face increased public attention because of their South African origins and their prominent presence in Nigeria. Meanwhile, Nigerians living in South Africa continue to hope for greater security and stronger protections against xenophobic violence. Many believe the long-term solution lies not in retaliatory actions, but in ensuring that every African, regardless of nationality, can live and work safely anywhere on the continent. This story is more than two companies. It raises bigger questions about diplomacy, business, justice, and the responsibility governments have to protect their citizens wherever they are. We'll continue to follow this developing story and bring you verified updates as new information becomes available. If you found this report helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our latest updates on Nigeria, Africa, and international news. And now we'd like to hear from you. Do you think MTN and MultiChoice should become the focus of protests over xenophobic attacks, or should pressure be directed only at governments? Share your opinion in the comments below. Please keep the discussion respectful. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next report.